Please read the disclaimer. Morgan Stanley just did it again. Is XRP next? And the banks are trembling because of the Genius Act. We'll talk about that. And Ripple's president just said that they're not doing this. You'll understand everything. All I ask from you is that you give me a beautiful smile to send out those good vibes. Smash that like button and let's get into it. So actually today, you know what? We'll get to XRP price action. I know XRP is selling off. We'll get to that towards the end. I want to start out with the news today. Yes, we're going to flip it up a little bit. You know, it's good to shake things up once in a while. So this is interesting. Just in 1.8 trillion, Morgan Stanley files for spot Ethereum ETF. Now, yesterday, they came out and they filed for a Bitcoin ETF. And not only that, recently they have enabled their customers the possibility to purchase other crypto ETFs, right? But wait a second. This story gets even more interesting because remember, we talked about this morning about the MSCI, right? That was the potential cause of the crash on October 10th. Well, it gets even more interesting. Did Morgan Stanley pull the biggest crypto manipulation of all time? The sequence of Bitcoin October crash and January recovery looks like a planned setup, and the data supports it. Let's go through it. October 10th. On October 10th, MSCI, originally a Morgan Stanley division, announced a proposal to remove digital asset treasury companies from its global indexes. That included firms like MicroStrategy and Metaplanet, whose balance sheets hold billions worth of Bitcoin. This was a small change because MSCI indexes guide trillions of dollars in passive flows. If the firms were removed, pension funds and ETFs would be forced to sell, institutional exposure to Bitcoin would shrink, and liquidity would tighten sharply. Minutes after the announcement, Bitcoin dropped nearly $18,000, erasing more than $900 billion from crypto total market cap. Then the 3-month pressure window. The consolation stayed open until December 31st, meaning 3 full months of uncertainty. That overhang froze demand. Passive investors avoided exposure. Index-linked funds risked forced selling. Prices stayed weak. Sentiment collapsed. During this period, Bitcoin dropped about 31%, altcoins even more. It was the worst quarter for crypto since 2018. And then what happened? January 1st, sudden pump starts. From January 1st, Bitcoin starts pumping without any bullish news. And the first 5 days of 2026, Bitcoin jumped 8%. XRP also, since the beginning of the year, had popped around 20+%. No one knew why, but somehow the relentless selling stopped and Bitcoin was printing back-to-back green candles. These were probably insiders who knew what was coming in the next few days. January 5th to 6th, the reversal. Then somehow in 24 hours, everything flipped. First, Morgan Stanley fired for its own Bitcoin ETF and Solana ETFs. Then in a few hours, MSCI announced that it would not remove the crypto-heavy companies after all. The exact rule that caused 3 months of selling pressure was suddenly withdrawn the same day Morgan Stanley launched a project that benefited from a recovering market. That is not a coincidence. Here's the full sequence. MSCI potentially threatens index removals, crypto crashes, uncertainty lasts 3 months, price stays suppressed while institutions wait. Morgan Stanley files its ETF. MSCI cancels the removal, and then it's all dandy, right? So this is just another reminder that when we see things like it have happened over the past 3 months, that's why I wasn't freaking out, okay? Why? Because I knew that there was some shenanigans that were going on, and now we're getting more clear data that there was probably shenanigans going on. And so that's why I always tell you that short term, if XRP is it, or Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana, are a little bit up, a little bit down, if I am investing long term and I have a plan in place, these movements, they're not really significant for me. They might be an opportunity to grow my positions in certain assets, but for the most part, I'm not freaking out, right? I might reshuffle things a little bit, but I'm not freaking out. Again, these are just my opinions. This is an opinion from bull theory there that I kind of think that it makes sense to me. And so remember that this video is for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest, okay? Very, very important. Now, we had a interview here with Ripple president, but before that, if you're interested in trading the market, my partner BTCC will give the opportunity. I got my sweatshirt here, right? BTCC sweatshirt. If you're interested in trading the market, BTCC will give the opportunity to do so. You can go long, you can go short, and you get 10% deposit on your first deposit over 500 USDT. You can go long, short, like I said, depending on where you think the market is going to go. Right now, the market is selling off, and we'll get to that in just a second. You could have had some insurance, a defense to help you out if the market flips, or you can leverage up if you're interested in potentially a movement, but please trade responsibly. We've seen what heavy leverage can do. So just be careful with that. Okay. And if you do use my link, I will get a commission. So thank you for that. I appreciate. If you use my link instead of someone else's link, it supports us. And if you want to support and you're already trading, so I appreciate it if you decide to use my link instead of someone else's. So it really helps out. You can get to the link by going to my website and scrolling down here. Also, I just want to quickly remind you that I will never contact you on social media asking to sign up to anything or to send me anything. Those are scammers. Those are imposters. I won't befriend you. I won't DM you. Please be careful out there. So XRP aims to be a global compliant infra. XRP President Monica Long says the strategy is to build compliant infrastructure connecting TradeFi and crypto with custody and on-off ramps at the core. Ripple has now secured 70 plus licenses worldwide. And they also asked her about potential IPO, and she said Ripple has no plans for initial public offering. She told Bloomberg, saying the firm can fund growth through acquisitions without going public. So they have a significant amount of capital. They're also thinking potentially that XRP will go up in price, right? If they didn't think that was happening, then the better route would have been to just go IPO, right? Because that way you can raise money and you can invest in companies and mergers and acquisitions. But if they think that their assets are going to go up in value and maybe down the line they can raise money that way, so that's maybe why they're not thinking about an IPO right now. They spend a few $1 billion in 2025 acquiring all these companies. So it will be very interesting to see what happens with Ripple and XRP in the next 6 months to year if we see any changes. And with Ripple getting their bank license, I see here Justin, banks first blockchain heats up. U.S. community banks are lobbying to reopen the Genius Act, pushing to remove provisions that allow crypto exchanges to offer stablecoin yields, arguing it undercuts traditional banking. Coinbase CEO Armstrong fires back, saying banks are simply trying to block competition. His view, resistance is futile. Banks will eventually be forced to operate on blockchain rails rather than fight them. And it says here from Coin Bureau, 6.6 trillion in bank deposits are at risk. U.S. bankers warned that yield-bearing stablecoins could draw up to 6.6 out of traditional bank deposits, potentially threatening local lending. Regulators say a big shift would not happen overnight, but concerns are growing. Listen, if you could potentially get a yield off of stablecoins that is better than what the bank is giving you on your checking account or your savings account, so why wouldn't people, do that? And so that would be a very interesting, thing, and it could hurt the banks. And the banks are freaking out, so of course they're going to try to change that or to push that. And if there's always competition, so this continues to happen, and it will be very interesting to see what happens. Now that we move forward, let's move to XRP's price action. I'm just going to take a little bit of sip of water here because my wife turned on the heat and I'm hot. So I'm going to take off the jacket too. Don't get too excited. While you're smashing the like button, you're dropping a comment, 8 for Infinity and beyond. You're checking out the links in the description down below. Okay, let's get to XRP's price action. Currently, XRP is sitting at $2.19. XRP is down almost 5% on the day, but it's not just XRP, okay? It's everything. Bitcoin is down almost 3%. Ethereum is down 4.4%. Solana is down 4%. Meme coins are down 4-5%, 10%. So the market is totally selling off here. And it was interesting because the sell-off started at 11 a.m. my time, which is when pre-market opens on the stock market. And as you can see, at 5, so this is 10 a.m. again, right? This keeps happening. 10 a.m. boom, right? Yesterday we had similar action, 10 a.m. right, which is 5 my time. Markets, right, started selling off. something similar happened today. And this is short-term manipulation here for the crypto markets. Again, things have kind of shifted a little bit on the indicators. I told you, I'll tell you again, you know, this is actually kind of good that XRP is pulling back a little bit. We were a little bit too suffocated here on the stochastic RSI. We did not yet get, this is Solana that I'm looking at. We're not getting yet a crossover on the 1348 EMA. It actually flashed in the morning, but because XRP is pulled back, again, it would only be confirmed if we had you know, another daily candle. So far that is not happening. Okay, so we have to take that into consideration. It will be interesting to see if XRP continues to pull back here. Will it bounce off of the 48 EMA here on the 4-hour chart? And then so maybe it bounces off of that. That could be a resistance. But again, these are short-term movements. These are short-term prices. Again, I'm no different than I was when XRP was at 185 or 218 or 240, right? Unless I have leverage positions open up. So yes, those are going up and down, and I have some stop losses to potentially take profits there. But I really don't care what the price action is right now. Of course, we get a little bit more excited and there's more views and things like that. But at the end of the day, right, if you're not departing with the position, then it doesn't really matter. Again, the numbers on your portfolio might look different, but if you're not saying goodbye to XRP, then it's not the end of the world. I know that people are more interested when the numbers are going up, but this is just how it is. I've told this before that, the elation from what you get when you have a successful trade or when things are going up is 4 times smaller than the depression you feel when things are going down or you lose, right? Meaning, when you're seeing something go up, you're like, oh, it can go up more, right? But when it's going down, you keep thinking to yourself, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's going to keep crashing. Or I don't know, you make 5K and then you're like, oh, 5K. I want 50K. I want 100K, right? But if you lose 5K, you're like, oh my God, that's, a monthly salary or something like that. So it's a big deal, right? So the depression you get is much larger than the elation that you get when market's going up. So that's why we see such a drop-off in interest when prices aren't that great. People prefer prices going up. So just how it is. But you are still here and you are subscribed to the channel and you are smashing the like button. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time.